Welcome back. In today's episode, I interview three-time Super Bowl champion Steve Wallace. He'll be sharing with us the 4 Ds of success and what Einstein, the NFL, and business have in common.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Well, we have an absolutely amazing guest for you tonight. Steve Wallace, 3-time Super Bowl champion with the 49ers, is with us. And we've got a little different format tonight. We're calling it Wine Wednesday Wallace. We're just sitting here in the living room, and we're just going to have some wine, and we're just going to talk some football, and we're going to talk about some strategies that peak performers use in order to get better results than most. So sit back and enjoy.
I'm looking forward to this, being out in the Bay Area for some time. Napa Valley Wine Wednesday. Right?
There you go. This will be like an ongoing deal for us. So let me give you a little background on Steve. He played 12 seasons as an offensive tackle in the National Football League with San Francisco and Kansas City. 2-time All-Pro selection and 3-time Super Bowl champion. He blocked for Heisman Trophy winner Bo Jackson. His head coach was future Hall of Famer inductee Pat Dye. Television commentator John Madden called Wallace's football play nasty, tenacious, and mean. He earned 4 All-Madden Teams and All-Rookie Team. Wallace never had a losing season. His worst season was 10-6. And most notably, he was also the blind side for none other than Joe Montana. Steve, welcome. Now, you know I'm a big guy. Steve is big. You'll show a picture of us together later. You'll see it up on the post. The first thing that jumps to my mind is John Madden calls you mean, tenacious, and what was the?
Nasty.
And nasty. Dude, you're one of the sweetest guys I know.
Well,
What? Tell us about that.
It's kind of compartmentalizing. I mean, we're similar to a wrestler, but, you know, football is real. Football is real. You have injuries. You have torn knee ligaments, elbows, concussions, the whole 9 yards. But, you know, with being tenacious is like when I put on that helmet, I'm a different individual, and I get paid to be that different individual. When I go out there and I just have a nasty attitude, I'm not the same guy. And, you know, and really looking back, you know, I really didn't like that guy. And if I wasn't so mean and nasty with just a vicious type temperament, then I probably would have gotten voted into more Pro Bowls. Most of the guys just didn't like me, but my way of making money was protecting Joe Montana at all costs. And so a lot of times they don't vote for you, but they can't appreciate you as a teammate.
Well, you know, it's funny because you were voted as the guy that was the answer to Lawrence Taylor, a mean and tough linebacker for the New York Giants. When you had to go out on the field, and by the way, if you don't understand what the blind side is, if you have a right-handed quarterback, the left tackle is the guy that's called the blind side because the quarterback can't see who's coming from behind you. So Steve Wallace's position was to make sure that Joe Montana
absolutely
never got popped in the back.
Right. And if you looking back, if you're Tom Brady, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, any of those guys, you know, the whole key is just feeling a level of comfort that your blind side or the side that you can't see is protected. You know, your head is turned one way, so you can't look. You don't have eyes behind you. You know, a lot of guys got great feel in the pocket, so to speak. But at the same time, you got to feel a level of comfort that this guy behind you is going to hold up that end. And a great head coach, Bill Walsh, saw fit that, hey, this guy is giving Joe great protection. I mean, Joe's career sputtered for a moment and was a backup for 2 games. Steve Young started in front of Joe Montana. And then Joe came back in during a average season, 6-5 for the San Francisco 49ers. Where no one likes you when you're 6-5. And then Joe kind of got it going. We won 6 games in a row. Next thing you know, we're headed into playoffs, and he felt that level of comfort in his protection. He wasn't leaving the pocket. And he started making things happen, and then went on to win 2 more Super Bowls. And so we went from looking at Joe Montana as a backup quarterback to winning 2 more Super Bowls. Now we talk about Joe Montana as one of the greatest quarterbacks. Or he is the greatest quarterback. If he's one, to me, Tom Brady's 1A.
I think so often your position doesn't get the credit that it deserves because, look, you can't make those passes if you're getting somebody's climbing on your back. Joe Rice, you can't make those kind of seasons if you can't have any protection in the pocket.
You're exactly right. I mean, for Joe, I mean, he can't throw the ball downfield to Jerry Rice and make those great completions. And it takes, all parts to work. But, there are different parts or positions out there on the field that you got to be strong. And then, like you said before, going against Lawrence Taylor, I was a former basketball player. Barely missed All-State, so I could put it up and hoop. I was a Sir Charles Barkley Jr., bro. And
you gotta have his body type.
Absolutely. And I could play basketball, and I felt like if going one-on-one with Lawrence Taylor, I had the foot speed to stay with him. But when you play and you're an effective offensive tackle, you got to give up something. So I said, he's a light guy. So if anything, he's going to run over me. Now, he's ran over some guys that were 320 and make them look ugly and nasty. But normally because I play low, then I'm going to have a chance to kind of survive. And sometimes I'm thinking like, Joe, hurry up and throw the ball. Throw the ball, Joe.
Hey, it's been told to me that at Auburn that Bo Jackson would not have won the Heisman if you weren't blocking for him. Is this true?
Well, I like to think I was a big part in it, because one of his big plays was coming off left tackle. We ran a sweep downhill, and when you went into a game plan, you defended that play. I mean, we beat many teams in the years that we were there at Auburn. We came in when Auburn was 5-6 during the regular season, and after that, for the next 4 years, we were the 3rd most winningest team behind Miami and Nebraska. So we kicked some butt down there. And Bo, one of his favorite plays was that toss sweep off left tackle, and a lot of times people didn't touch him, and it was similar to that game what he had in the Metrodome or in Seattle when he ran out the tunnel. And, he has that kind of speed. It takes a guy like him, some extra room to run down the runway and slow it down.
Talk a little bit about your record. Now, when we talked about you never having a losing season, we're talking all the way through your career, even starting in high school.
All the way back, like in high school, I went to Chamblee High in North Atlanta. And when I got there, the 2 years prior to myself and some of the guys that went there, we were 2-8, 4-6. Then we get there during the regular season, we were 28-2, and so we turned that thing around. And we didn't have all the tremendous skill players, but we just had some tough, gutsy guys that got out there and fought and competed. And we turned Chamblee around and turned that into a winning organization. I go to Auburn. Like I said, they were 5-6 when we got there. Coach Pat Dye came down on the Auburn Plains, and he made some men hard. And then I think that's where the nastiness, I was just a young, sweet kid coming out of Atlanta, going down to Auburn, and they got after you. And it felt like a compliment for a lot of the pro scouts to say, you guys practice harder than any team we've ever seen. You guys practice harder than the University of Alabama and Bear Bryant. And
do you think some of that's gone now? A lot of pressures come down on coaches not to be as hard on the players.
Well, absolutely. This is a different type of mindset as far as some of these younger guys, and they can't yell at them too much. You kind of got to be nice. You got to play the right music, and a lot of times nowadays I go in that locker room, they're jamming and playing some music like I can't even say the words to them.
Yeah.
But that's just their mindset. And then it's every single team in America, and it's just it's changed. But then at the same time, you got to give some of those coaches some credit that you got to be open-minded in a sense that in welcoming the change that, it's all about winning. The fans, are more about winning than anything else.
So talk about the winning. So here you are on this. You haven't had a losing season. How do you deal with losing? Because in business and in life, losses, failures come up. How did you deal with those?
Losses, it's hard. And then my losses are losing 8 times at the end of a season. And so those, I get a lot of pats on the back, and I don't talk much about that part of it. But I heard Fran Tarkenton said at one of his talks recently that he learned more out of his losses. And then he lost, 3 times in the Super Bowl. So it makes you go back and check everything, because when the 3 times that I won the Super Bowl, you kind of just go throughout the season. You're happy. You're all hunky-dory. You're jumping up and down. And you never look back at the mistakes.
Yeah.
But when you get close and you lose, you go dig up and you spend a whole offseason, probably like the Golden State Warriors this year, or like the Orlando or the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, when you're up 3-1 and you lose, you're going to go back and dig and find out why.
Yeah. For those of you who did not see the interview with Fran Tarkenton, Steve is talking about the interview I did with him. It's episode maybe 3 or 4. It's early on in the shows, but check that out. It's a incredible interview with Fran Tarkenton. So,
absolutely. I want to jump in on that, Thor, because, what Fran talked about was the lessons learned. And he said even in business, you got to have a few failures because that makes you, work that much harder. If everything's always easy, then you're never going to find out how to totally operate a business or whatever, because if you don't have any failures, it doesn't put the pressure on you to go back and find out why we failed.
Yeah. Well, what's an epic failure in your career? And by the way, Steve's gone on to be a very successful real estate mogul here in the Atlanta area. So what's either business or
you had to ask that question. An epic failure is playing against the Dallas Cowboys when, all the Dallas fans for years had disappeared, and then all of a sudden they got, Jerry Jones went out and picked up Jimmy Johnson. They came back with guys like Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and all of those guys, and they started winning. And an epic failure for me and the San Francisco 49ers is when you go on the road, you're going to win because you have more experience, and those young guys have a whole nother mindset. And then that's why they became great, and they became tremendous All-Pros and Hall of Famers because they found a way to do it. And when you're at that moment, and for me, one of the epic failures was – I got one chance. Super Bowl is going to be in Atlanta. That's my hometown. I know it's made up for this to happen. And so I'm playing that game against the Dallas Cowboys and thinking that we got a chance to win this game. We're down maybe 17-0. It's looking really bad and doesn't look like we'll have a chance. And we get back in the game. We're down 7. And then next thing you know, they throw one of those deep balls to Michael Irvin. And what hurt so much was just that I knew at that moment I would never, ever have a chance to play in the Super Bowl in Atlanta.
Now, what year was that?
That was 1995, I think it was. And it hurt my heart so much. Or 1993. That's when they did a back-to-back repeat, playing Buffalo Bills twice.
It's funny they say Michael Irvin during the Super Bowl. The next Super Bowl, which was, 98, 2000, somewhere around there in Atlanta. I was in this bar, and I'm walking in. He was walking out, and he wasn't looking. He actually ran into me, and he wanted to start a fight with me.
Right. Oh, wow.
it was a big – it was funny you say that. And he's a lot smaller than I thought he was. He's not a big dude.
He's strong, though.
Well, look, I wasn't trying to fight the guy.
No.
But, I was just surprised. I looked at him. I was like, wow, I thought you'd be bigger.
Yeah, he which one? Michael Irvin.
Michael Irvin.
Yeah. I mean, he's a consummate competitor. I mean, where he goes out and just gonna compete, and the great thing about when you're playing at that high of a level is like what I saw Roger Federer play today. A guy down 2 sets at Wimbledon. It's over, and then he should have lost the third set. but he kept grinding, just like in business, you know.
Yeah.
And it's relative to business, is relative to school, is relative to education. If you keep grinding, you keep finding a way, then the great thing, if you've had any success, you know, and those great champions like Federer today, is that they've had that success, and they know one thing. If I grind it out, you know, and I put enough pressure on this pipe, it may burst. And then you just look for that weakness. And then he slowly kind of got over the hump. Next thing you know, by the fifth set, he won and was still competing at Wimbledon just because he was a grinder. And if you lose, you lose.
Yeah, but he went down fighting.
Absolutely.
So that brings up a great point. You know, we have techniques and tactics and tools and strategies, and then there's the psychology. Mm-hmm. In professional football, how much does psychology play in the overall success of a player or a team?
God, that's huge. Looking back, like I said, Joe Montana, think about the pride of Joe Montana. Colin Kaepernick, one of the guys for the 49ers, had to sit down. You're going to love this one, Thor. The great Peyton Manning was a backup this year, got removed, and then had to go play the backup role. So it doesn't matter how great you are. You know, one of the lessons is that there again, if you've had enough successes in whatever, it gives you hope. And, you know, that experience lets you know that I can find a way. You know, if I keep working, Albert Einstein said there's no substitute for hard work. If you keep grinding, you keep putting that type of effort, you have a sense of determination, discipline, desire, and put all those D's together, and direction. You got to have directions, you know, with goals and goal setting. If you put all that together and you've had success in the past, and you know that eventually something good is going to happen.
Now, I know you have some young kids, or not young kids at this point, but you've got some younger kids. What do you tell them?
Exactly that, is that you keep grinding. In whatever you do, if you fail, so what? You know, a lot of times I'm at a school, I'm talking to a group of teenagers, or I could be at a college. We're talking about leadership. With the teenagers, I usually say, look around the room. And then they look around. I said, see all these teachers in here? I said, at one moment, they've all failed. But it's those individuals that get back up and keep fighting and keep having that determination, that discipline. And then when I go and talk and speak on leadership, and I talk to a lot of college students, first of all, I just try to help them to recognize and realize, you know, any of you guys good at math? Any of you guys good at social studies, history, English, whatever? And the neat thing is that they got a major. So if I call enough subjects out, they're going to raise their hand on one of them. Guaranteed. They have to, right? Good in nursing. It doesn't matter. You know, good in whatever. And so they have to raise their hand up. And then even if I miss it and I don't call one of their majors, I'll just say, well, what did I miss? And then they'll raise their hand. Then they'll call it out. I said, well, are you good in that? And they go, yeah. So in that instance, I have everyone's attention. Then I call out some of the things as far as leadership. You want to be inspiring, determined, have creative thinking. And once you put these together, you take that I'm gifted in a certain area. That's my subject. That's what I'm familiar with. That's what my level of expertise is in. And then you put creative thinking, innovative, inspiring, and I usually give about 5 different topics, and then they usually fall on one of those. And then my next question is that, okay, so those are some of the qualities for leadership. Then what the heck are you waiting for? You could be one of the greatest leaders. You can be a prominent individual to society. Then what the heck are you waiting for?
Yeah, and everybody's got a gift.
Absolutely.
Everyone's got a gift. And I heard a great saying recently, you know, well, you know, I'm afraid, I'm scared to do it. Well, just do it scared, you know, and just do it scared.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Just do it
Absolutely.
anyway. At what point in your life did you realize you were good enough to play sports on a professional level?
Wow. That probably was not until my junior year when, because usually as a freshman, you're just trying to make the team, and then you kind of, some of those 3-a-day 3 days practices down at Auburn when it's like 94 degrees. You can't even see the people on the opposite end of the field because of the heat. You know, you see those little heat waves, and you just praying like, God, just let me complete these 4 years. I just want to get me a good job, and I want it to be over with. I'm telling you.
And you are so humble. But the first day we met, I said, man, you're a big dude. I said, did you play football? He goes, yes, played a little football. I said, did you play college football? He goes, yeah, I played at Auburn. I said, well, did you do anything after Auburn? He goes, yeah, I had a tryout with San Francisco, and then left it at that. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, who's this guy, Steve Wallace? And it was easy enough to look up on the internet. I'm like, you son of a bitch. You won 3 Super Bowls.
What was I supposed to say?
Well,
right?
I bring that up because I love the groundedness and the authenticity about who you are as a person, and the humility, exactly.
And I think for most part, that's how you should be. And then, you know, later if folks are interested, like you said, then they'll look it up. But, you know, the main thing is that, you know, as long as you're putting forth, you know, great effort in everything you do, then, you know, a lot of good things will happen.
Let's touch base on one thing that you and I talked about recently. You know, as a successful businessmen, as successful sports figures, you're in the public eye.
Yes,
it's very easy to find out
absolutely.
who Steve Wallace is. You're single. I'm single.
Yes.
And as we go through our dating careers, sometimes you're questioning yourself, is this person really interested in me for who I am or, you know, for what I've made?
Wow.
And you know, you and I talked a little bit, and we've got a lot of entrepreneurs listening to this show that are very successful. Many are single. What advice do you have for someone out there of how to kind of figure out what the intentions might be?
You know, for me, I'm just going to be honest about it. I'm still trying to figure it out because a lot of times if I'm on Match or if I've been on enough websites and I just kind of given up on that. And figuring that, you know, eventually I would find somebody in a different area that I didn't know, or I would just stumble up on someone. And what was tough for me was that a guy that's right at 6'6", a big, like you said, sizable individual, then he goes out. And then folks are like, dang, man, this guy probably played football or something. And then that's one of the first questions I get asked, you know, not what did you study in college or anything like that.
Right.
Like, what school did you go to? And I say Auburn. Then the next question immediately, like, did you play football there?
What round did you get drafted?
Absolutely.
Who was your agent?
And then it's like, and right away, and it's just, my first name is just Steve. We haven't gone any further than that. Then did you go any further than that? Okay, and one of the things, like in dating, like you said, you want to be honest.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's just like, yeah, and then I kind of leave it like I probably don't really answer the whole question like, yeah, I tried out or I did something like that, in which I don't want the relationship to be about myself. And like you said, a lot of successful individuals out there, I got a lot of good female friends, and they laugh about just looking for the guy that can pay their bills. You know what I mean? And I'm not cutting down the ladies out there, but you ladies know you have a few friends out there like that, and it's
ingrained. It's really part of our DNA. It's our DNA to provide for them, and it's a woman's DNA going back to the caveman style of I need to find a strong man that is going to protect me against.
Great point.
Yeah, against nature.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I guarantee you 75% of the ladies that go to universities, they're looking for a good guy that will provide. And if they fall in love with that individual, then they feel like it's a good pair. You know.
And they're even looking at stature and saying, is this going to be a good mating partner for me?
Right.
Are we going to be able to produce great offspring?
Right.
I mean, it's in our DNA.
I wish I had to look further back than that. You know, my wife is shorter than I probably, not that would have changed anything. You know, we had a great relationship early on, but, you know, now we're good friends now, and that's the most important thing.
You're a strong guy. What's your biggest weakness?
Sometimes I think it's simply doubt, you know, and for a guy to go out and speak so much on different things. Heck, I'm not 100% sure about everything. And there again, just trying to be honest that, you know, even though I've had a lot of successes, you know, sometimes we just doubt ourselves. Heck, I may doubt myself in dating, you know, mainly because a lot of women may find a 6'6" guy that's kind of thick through the shoulders intimidating. And then you got to go sell that. And and that's the horrible thing about dating. I mean, why do you want to sell yourself? I mean, you just want to have a great conversation and communicate well with the individual, and hopefully you hit it off. If you're attracted to each other, then it goes on from there. But, you know, a lot of times with dating, when you just met someone, you feel like you're in an interview.
Yeah, I heard someone describe it recently as your representative.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Your representative shows up for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
It's like, hi, this is who Steve Wallace is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're your greatest commodity, and then so as far as you're your own commodity, and like you said, you're trying to sell that, and you're trying to tell all the great things. And there's probably a couple bad things, because last time I checked, there are not many folks that are perfect, right? And so
Not that I know.
Yeah.
That concludes part 1 of our interview with Steve Wallace. Please tune in later this week for part 2. Thank you for listening. If you haven't already done so, please head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Also, please share this with family, friends, coworkers, or anyone that could benefit from this information. To make it very easy to share these episodes, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode that you want to share, and you can post it to your timeline. You just might be helping one of your friends on Facebook by sharing it on your page. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. The email is info@thorconklin. While at the website, please sign up for our weekly newsletter with additional tricks, tips, tools, and psychology on how to be a peak performer. Remember, these episodes are anywhere between 6 and 35 minutes and are meant to be consumed during dot time doing other things. Until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.